Welcome to another edition of the Business and Personal Podcast, where we bring you closer to the people that you're doing business with. And we're thrilled today, as you can see in her car on her busy day out and about as Medicare Annual Enrollment has started. We're with Jessalyn Pito of JP Maven Insurance, and she's going to talk all about what she does, what's going on with Medicare. It's been all over in the news more than ever in recent years, so kind of give us an update on that. But first of all, Jessalyn, thanks so much for joining us in your busy day.
Good morning, Ryan, and good morning to our listeners. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and actually it's a welcomed break. As you can see, I am sitting in the car between appointments, but it's a nice break to just be still and share my love of Medicare.
Absolutely. You're kind of in an in-between time of sorts because we're recording this on October 8th. On October 1st, people can start meeting with you to plan out their annual enrollment. Then they can actually fully pick the plans between October 15th and December 7th. This will drop on October 13th. So we're kind of in the middle of all of that. But
Okay.
in any event, it's your busiest time of the year. More people than at any time of the year are interested in Medicare messaging. So I thought it'd be a good time to get you on. And let's just kind of start with, people are seeing Medicare in the news and all this change, and change can be scary sometimes, but it's not always bad. What is your take on just all the changes that have taken place here in the last few years with Medicare and where we're at with it?
Well, what I know about life is all about evolving and changing, right? I mean, I'm 58 years young, and there's been a lot of things that have changed in life. And so being in the Medicare industry, it's really no different. I've been in this space for over 8 years, and every single year there's been a change, whether it be with introducing a scope of appointment. Then the scope of appointment became where you needed to have it signed 48 hours before an appointment. I mean, that's just some of the changes. But what we're seeing now definitely has a bigger impact, and not just on Medicare beneficiaries, but the whole industry as a whole. And the reason for that is a few years ago, the government passed the Inflation Reduction Act. And there's been different stages of that act released so far, and there are different stages of it set to be released in future years. And the very first stage was when insulin was capped at $35 a month for the person who needs insulin. And did it need to be done? Absolutely. But what happened is that it's capped for the person who buys it, but the drug manufacturer didn't lower the price to make it. So who was paying the difference of that insulin? And that was the insurance companies. And so when I was doing reviews that following year, I was noticing that some of the insurance companies were not offering certain insulins on their formulary anymore. So people were being forced to look at, what are you taking? Are you needing a different insulin? Or perhaps we're just changing a company and looking for a company that even offers what it is that you take. So that was the first phase. The second phase is where we saw the $8,000 max out of pocket with the donut hole was going away. And so that $8,000 max out of pocket was dropped to $2,000 for 2025, which sounds great, right? But that's a $6,000 difference that someone's picking up, and it was the insurance company. And so now for 2026, the max it's gone from $2,000 to $2,100. And now we're seeing some of the top 10 most expensive medications on the market being capped. The long and the short of it is, just to bottom line this for everyone, the pharmaceutical companies have not lowered the price of these medications. So who's paying the difference? If the government is, reducing the funding to the insurance company, and the insurance companies are the ones now having to absorb the difference of $6,000 for each member, who's paying that? And so now we're at the point where insurance companies are now having to displace some of those extra additional costs onto the consumer as well as the agent. And so what I've seen in this space is this past year for 2025, drug plan premium choices is where we saw the biggest change, where your number of plan offerings decreased. Now, I am a licensed agent in Connecticut. Connecticut's my resident state. I am licensed in many other states. So the information that I'm sharing with you is pretty much across the country. But there are some situations where things are state specific. So what I'm referring to is pretty much this was across the board, where the number of drug plan offerings for 2025 went down. And what you were left with is that premiums increased, formularies changed, perhaps a medication changed tiers, which made it more expensive. But yeah, you were capped at $2,000, so that's good. Now here comes 2026. And as I mentioned, the government reduced the funding to these insurance companies. And now the Medicare Advantage plan side is being faced with reducing benefits, and the plan offerings for the drug plan side have even gone down even more. So like in Connecticut, we had 20 plan offerings for prescription drug plans 2 years ago. This year we're down to 14, and now next year we're down to 9. I know it sounds odd. It's kind of making my job a little bit easier, to be honest with you, to not have all these offerings. So, we don't like change. And I jokingly say, Ryan, the only person who likes change is a baby. And I'm kind of embracing this change because we're getting back to the basics of what health insurance is all about. And are my claims being paid? That's really what it comes down to. And with the number of plans being reduced in the prescription drug side, it's making things less complicated and not confusing the mind, because a confused person cannot make a decision. And so I partner with my clients, just like all agents or most agents are supposed to. And we help clients make those decisions. And in fact, when I've been doing my reviews since October 1st, I'm finding that it's kind of glaringly obvious what plan people should select. And yeah, it's going as crazy as it sounds with all the changes. The reviews are going well. Most people are choosing to stay where they are, because this is a year where the grass isn't greener on any side. And if the plan isn't broken, just write it out and we'll weather this storm together.
And, I always equate Medicare enrollment to you can't compare it to Netflix or some of these other subscription things that you have where you just auto renew it every month. And even, okay, if it goes up by $1 or $2, no big deal, just keep auto renewing. You absolutely cannot do that with Medicare. Even if in the end of the day, the plan that you're on is still the best plan, you really need to look at what's out there. So have you noticed on your end more inquiries and just more people being interested in your services? Because they used to do it on their own, but with all these changes, they weren't comfortable doing that anymore.
I am, for quite a few different reasons. This past year, I'm noticing that agents themselves, who perhaps have been in the business for quite a while, have either sold their book of business and retired, or just got out of the insurance industry altogether, and their clients are needing a new home. So when you take that, plus the fact a major carrier in Connecticut is canceling their PPO plans, leaving 53,000 members to find a new home with a plan, people need help. And so the inbound calls have been crazy, which is, that's a good problem to have. It's a first world problem. And I'm just finding that even with my own current clients, I start emailing them back on Labor Day, and pretty much my schedule for AEP is full by September 30th. And I have a team of agents that are getting the spillover with the fact that, if I'm full, they'll get the new leads coming in. But yeah, it's been crazy. There's a lot of people who need help, and there's 53,000 people who need a new plan. So it's a little crazy out here. Hence why I'm in the car.
And if anybody's listening out there and you just stumbled across this, you were looking for Medicare help, believe it or not, Jessalyn's services are free of charge. You have to pay her a grand total of attention. That's all you have to pay when you're working with her. It's an incredible service, and it's not like you take one test and you're done with gaining knowledge. You have to constantly stay on top of all the changes, right?
You do, and it's amazing how many people feel as though they can do it alone, and 9 times out of 10, I end up getting the SOS call, like, can you help me? They don't know. And there's certain things that an agent knows. So if someone chooses to do it alone and they're looking up a doctor and their doctor doesn't come up, or maybe they don't even know to look up a doctor, right? Because you should be looking up your providers and your medications before you sign on the dotted line. You need to be certain your providers are in the plan. And as an agent, what I do is, yes, I look up the doctor, but nine times, sometimes, most of the time, the doctors don't show up in the directory for a few different reasons. Sometimes physicians don't want to be listed in the online directory. So this is where the knowledge that I have and the expertise, I'll just go and Google the doctor to see if maybe they're affiliated with the doctor network. And then I know to go look up the doctor network to see if the doctor network is in the plan. But if they're not, then I'll shoot my broker manager a message and say, hey, can you please look this up on your end to be certain that this provider is or isn't in the network? So those are the tools that we have available to our fingertips. And as you said, Brian, our services are complimentary. For whatever reason, agents seem to get a bad rap, like, oh, we steer people. Actually, we don't, because, well, a good agent, an authentic agent, doesn't steer people because it's actually against our insurance license to steer people. It's right there. We're not allowed to do it. So when you're really getting to know the client and discovering, through those discovery questions, what their needs are, that's how you do right by people. And it's glaringly obvious when you educate your clients which plan is the best fit for their needs. They're able to discover the answer for themselves. But everyone should be talking to someone like myself, just because we know more of the ins and outs than is superficial on Medicare.gov, let's just say.
Well, yeah, and I think that's another good thing that's happening in your industry now is it's become more and more regulated over the years. So those bad apples are gradually getting weeded out more and
Yes.
more. There are still scammers out there, though. So what should people do if they get something from Medicare that maybe looks official, but also looks kind of suspicious? How should they handle that?
This is the time of year where you are heavily inundated with mail, phone calls, text messages. And I would say your number one source, if you do not have someone like myself in your life, then I've always said, go directly to the source, which is Medicare.gov. Do not get your information from Google. Do not get your information from any of the pieces of mail, because number one, when you receive mail, if it's not a bill, it's someone trying to sell you something 9 times out of 10. You're going to get information from carriers. I love my carriers, but the carriers don't know what medications you're on and what doctors you see. So that plan may not be an ideal fit for you. And then, then the phone calls. If someone's inbound calling you and you didn't give them permission to call, again, someone's just trying to sell you something. And I hone this in with my clients is, Mama taught you not to talk to strangers. Now is not the time to put your healthcare in the hands of a stranger. So be careful, because I just had 2 clients recently scammed, one out of $80,000 and another one out of $137,000 for the wrong reasons. One thought she owed it in back taxes to the IRS. And the other one thought she fell in love with a comedian because she liked his Facebook page, and they ended up having a private message. She fell in love and he was asking for money, and here we are, 80 grand later. And it happens in the Medicare space as well. So Medicare will never mail you a new card. They're not going to call you saying you have a new card. They're not going to, say you have a new number. No, you call Medicare directly because there was a point last year where some of my clients were getting new numbers because there was a breach in their security. So some clients did get that, but you always want to go directly to the source. Even when you get a text message about, oh, there's a fraudulent charge, or your package, we're having a hard time delivering your package. Now, I didn't order anything, so good luck with that.
And never give out that Medicare number. Someone can do a lot of damage with your Medicare number. So, be very careful.
Yes, from fraudulent claims to identity theft, changing your plan. There's a whole bunch of reasons not to give that number. Protect it like your Social Security number.
Yeah, I've heard stories of companies calling and saying, Medicare is laminating cards now. We just need your Medicare number so we can send your new laminated card out in the mail, which is an absolute hoax.
I know. And that's even funny because you're not supposed to laminate your card. So that's even funnier.
Yes. So stay local, work with someone local, trusted, like Jessalyn. I also, whenever I do these podcasts, I'm always interested. Why did a business come up with a name that they came up with? So, how did you come up with the name JP Maven Insurance Benefits? Where did that come about?
Well, when I first started, I was your Medicare Maven, and I had a purple lotus flower in my logo. And the reason for that is when I started in business 8 years ago, it was a way to honor my mother who had passed from pancreatic cancer. So that's why I do what I do, because I wanted to be that resource to assist members with their Medicare needs. So every client is treated like my family. I got into this business because of my family, and I treat everyone like they're my family. But there was a ruling that came out where we were not allowed to have the name Medicare in our business name. And some of the states absolutely are like a hard no, you can't do it. So I said, well, you know what? Let me just make the change now. And 3 years ago, my husband passed away, and I was on a mission to retire my husband so he could work alongside me. And my clients know me as the Maven, and my husband and I both had the same initials, JP. So, as a way to honor my husband, I dropped the Medicare, and that's where I came up with JP Maven Insurance Benefits. And I now also have a red cardinal in my logo that represents my husband. So I have the purple lotus flower and then the red cardinal. And I call myself JP Maven, which is kind of funny because it has a deep meaning for me. But someone said to me not too long ago, "Oh, so like JP Morgan," and I'm like, "Well, I could be." No, I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
maybe.
that's how I came up with my business name.
Well, awesome, awesome story. And anybody that's still listening at this point is interested in your services for sure. So how can they reach out and get started with you and try to find a spot in that schedule?
Yep. So my personal cell, and it's my business line, is 203-206-0848. My email is my first and last name, Jessalyn Pito at gmail.com. I have a website, jessalynpito.com or jpmaven.com. It'll lead you to the same page. And if I personally am not able to help you, I am equipped with a team of agents who are ready to be at your service and provide you with the service that you deserve.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again for taking time in your busy schedule. I know you're out and about and on the road and have to move on to your next appointment, but appreciate you appreciate you coming on, and maybe we'll have you on after AEP for an update.
I would love that.